It is now my great pleasure to introduce Butler University's 21st president, James Danko.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. How are we doing? Good. I usually do what the other speakers do, is stand behind that podium because it gives me a little bit of comfort. But I thought, given that this is like the largest class in the history of Butler, we're filled to the rafters today. I felt I had to get out here and see you connect on a little bit more personal level. So, Johnny, let's take a look at what we got here. Whoa. Wow. This is something. Congratulations to you all on being accepted into Butler University during one of clearly the 1 year that we had the most number of applications by a long shot, and we're just absolutely delighted to have you all here. I want to thank our speakers who just did a phenomenal job. Thank you very much. A chance to get to know the university through alumni and students, and our VP of enrollment, who was awfully busy. I hope you're working on the next class. So we got to keep them coming. So we're pleased to have you there. And let's also give thanks to our family, our parents, our friends that are with us today for their support during this this weekend. You know, Chris talked a little bit about butterflies. I've got to be honest. I'm sure it's true of some of the other speakers. We all get butterflies when we're up here, especially when those lights went on. I realized how many people now I'm talking to. So maybe Jimmy, could you? Jimmy's very good here. He's gonna help me with my setup, so that at least if I lose my breath or if I have to sit down, I've got a little. Stay here a second, Jimmy. Jimmy, look at this. So, okay, first off, Jimmy knows me so well. He's got my favorite drink, my iced tea. So thank you for that. And I'm just going to embarrass Jimmy. I've been here now. I'm just starting my 8th year, and every time I have to do something like this or any shows we do, I always go back and I spend about 5 or 10 minutes with Jimmy, and I learn everything. He's been terrific here at Butler, and he's also represents. Next time you might see him is going to be at graduation. So he represents the many, many unsung heroes of Butler University that are behind the scenes making this happen. And boy, I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Part of my job as president is to give you some words of advice. My words of advice is get to know everybody on this campus. You know, you're going to learn from people like Jimmy, from people like Johnny that got the lights up for us. There are so many unsung heroes at Butler University. They feed us. Our lawns this week are spectacular. The move-in, the way all that worked out, is because it took a lot of people to do that. So it's not just people that are sitting up at the stage that are obviously people you want to get to know. You want to get to know those people as well. They will help take you somewhere. I mentioned, and it's true, just like you, I get a little nervous coming into this particular weekend and this particular speech. My wife, Bethany, who's sitting over there, I'll say a few more words about her in a minute, but Bethany is there. Actually, let's give her a big round of applause to make her feel good. So. As Bethany knows, starting about 6-8 weeks ago, even before we got out of vacation, I'm saying, I got that speech to give. I got to welcome everybody. We got our biggest class. So, you know, that nervousness, those butterflies that Chris just talked about, they're also in people like me, frankly. You know, you could be standing up here forever. You probably think as a university president, I should be used to this, and it's easy to do this. But that anxiety, that nervousness, you know, that you're feeling, we feel it too. And it's actually a good thing. I have learned in giving speeches over times that adrenaline rush and that, you know, your heart races a little bit, that's both a good and a bad, right? There's an excitement to it that gets you going and, again, keeps you a bit on the edge. But I think when we're here and we feel that heart racing a little bit, it's tough. And I'm sure some of your hearts are racing as well, especially the people in the front row who are afraid I'm going to call on them now, right? But even as I was thinking about meeting you for the first time, you know, I picked out this outfit, and I'm thinking, what if you don't like it, right? I mean, so you're probably thinking the same thing. As you go to meet people, it's like, how do I look? What are they going to think about me? All of that stuff runs through our minds. The reason I wanted to pull myself away from the podium is that that's a good place to kind of hide a little bit, and it's easier to have a speech, at least for me, written out. That way I won't have to stumble or say something stupid. But as I was looking at my notes, a lot of it is about getting out of your comfort zone. And so I think maybe I should model that behavior and get out of my own comfort zone a bit and try to connect with you on a more personal basis. But I'd be curious, what kind of things have you nervous? I won't call on anybody. I won't put you on the spot. Although your parents, somebody's up there saying, "Oh boy, I hope Annie answers this." We could tell all of our friends, that happened. But just shout it out. Just in one word, what is the one thing that has you a little bit worried or anxious or nervous right now? Money. Money. We're going to start there. Okay, money. I think that has us all a little bit nervous, trust me. Us here trying to pay the bills and your parents that are paying the bills. So we hear you, and we're very, very aware of the return on investment of a Butler education, and quite confident that it will play out quite positively. All right, so we got money. What else? Class. So you're nervous about that first class, right? Having to stand in front of people and talk and kind of put yourself out there a little bit. So, my words of advice, get out of your comfort zone. Those people that you're talking to are probably as nervous as you. What else do we got? What else makes you nervous? Sleep. That you won't get enough sleep? All right. So a little bit of that. All right, what else? Anything else? Scheduling. All right, you want to get the right schedule? Oh, okay. There's a lot going on, so you're a little worried about that. I've seen it now for 8 years. It all works. It's great. You're going to have a great flow here. You got some people that will support you. Last one. What other things? What? Friends, people. All right. Change. Maybe being away from your parents for the first time. Being on your own. That's both exciting and nerve-wracking a little bit for many of us. I'll share a little bit about what makes us nervous up here. The environment we're living in now, the social, the political, the cultural, I think it has us all on edge. I think some of you are on edge, right? As we think about things that happen across this country, and as we look at issues that continue to emerge, especially as we see them, and Butler is kind of a microcosm of all of these issues out there, freedom of speech, people that are, again, using social media to fuel hatred, people that, again, are probably on a different side of the political spectrum. How is that going to play out on campus? Believe me, amongst this 1,300 students, we're going to get a lot of areas where we disagree with each other, and that's going to happen, right? So we're anxious about that, too, because we've seen so many things happen at campuses across the country where some of these freedom of speech issues or people that are speaking hatred want to descend upon campuses. And frankly, they want to get in the middle of us. They don't want us to talk in a civil manner. So that's one of the things that keeps us kind of on a high alert in terms of a college campus, and particularly Butler University. But there is some good news, and Chris did a great job of setting this up. So I'm going to see if you were paying attention to his speech. What year was Butler founded? 1855. Was that on your T-shirt? Good. You did great. You got that. And the founder of Butler? Ovid Butler. Okay. And it was founded on what principles? Chris said it. Great. Everyone should have access to an excellent education regardless of race or gender. That's our founding principle. And the good news is we have that. That's in our values. It's in our DNA going back to 1855. The second thing we have that Dr. Ross referred to is community of care. So the good news is, with all that kind of turmoil and noise fueled by social media, we've got a couple values here that keep us together and keep us grounded as a community. And they're ones that I strongly encourage you, to remember. So how does that play out? Okay, that was whatever number of years ago, 160 some years ago. How does it play out in the current reality? What do we expect on campus? Well, we expect that you will respect each other regardless of another person's background, regardless of their politics, regardless of whether or not they come from a different culture. They might be coming from a different country. Heck, you might think coming from Iowa is far away. No matter where people are coming from, they're obviously going to have some differences with you, right? People have different gender identities. People have different beliefs. All of that. We have it clearly represented in this community. And we have to be respectful of that. We have to be respectful of that. One thing we don't tolerate on our campus is hate. If you disagree with somebody, you've got to kind of back off a little bit and figure out a constructive way to move forward. That's what your education is going to be about 4 or 5 years. That's probably one of the most valuable things that you'll get out of this. I know I did in my own education. Your parents did in theirs. Suddenly they were thrust into a situation with a lot of different people, a lot of different beliefs, a lot of different culture, a lot of different backgrounds. And you learn through that process. Sometimes you come into this and you think, well, geez, everybody's the same as me. I got news for you, that's not true. So we've got to be very mindful and respectful of that. And that's what gets me back again to this theme of getting out of your comfort zone. You're going to see somebody that maybe you don't quite understand. They obviously might look like they come from somewhere different. They might have said something in a classroom that seemed really controversial. And maybe your first instinct is to grab the cell phone and start tweeting something out like, oh, I can't believe what this idiot just said in the classroom. That's the last thing we want you to do. What I want you to do is get out of your comfort zone and go up to that person and say, hey, you said that. I'm not sure I understand your side. Tell it to me. And maybe you could repeat it back and learn through that dialogue. That's what Butler does with its community of care. That's what it does in terms of our founding principles. That's something you're going to hear reinforced constantly. So I really encourage you to get out of your comfort zone, take advantage of the opportunity to get to know some people that perhaps you're different than. So that's a great value we have at Butler University. Another thing that's very important that I also want to talk about is this community of care issue. I mentioned, I'll give you a little bit more background on my wife Bethany and myself. We are now entering our 8th year. We arrived here in August of 2011. And so not unlike yourself, so arriving in August, we got to know this place pretty well. And we really, I have to tell you, my previous time, I was, for 6 years, I was Dean of Business at Villanova. Before that at Dartmouth. I've been at Michigan. So we've been at a number of different universities. Far and away, Butler is the best. This is a great place. You have absolutely made the best decision. Bethany and I are so appreciative to be part of this community, to be part of the leadership of this university. And you probably have no idea what a president is or why or whatever. In a lot of ways, we're surrogate parents, and we try to act that way. Our house is right across the street from Resco, so we're watching you. I'm afraid you might be watching us, but that's a whole other thing. But we stay close, and if you kind of pay attention to the different social media and others, you'll hear that we occasionally throw these little things at our house. We'll invite people for Halloween. We'll invite people over for study breaks. We very much want to get to know you on a personal way because, like I say, we're surrogate parents to you in some respects. I also have to let you in on another secret. Our bedroom window is right on Sunset. And right around the corner are, all the Greek houses, and we got all the student units around us. And so in the summer, it's really quiet, which is really kind of nice. So, we can kind of hit that pillow and go to sleep without any problem. But what happens this time of year is we start hearing voices. You were pretty busy last night, weren't you? I didn't have to talk to Dr. Ross to find out that last night there was late night activity going on in our campus. So did you enjoy yourselves? All right, but I have to tell you, there is one voice that really troubles me the most, and it's before I hit that pillow and I'm saying to myself, God, keep them safe. That's the voice that really worries me. I'm not worried about the other noise, but knowing that you're safe is important to me. I suspect many of your parents, and by the way, we have parents, we've got a large crowd. I know a lot of parents are hopefully watching this in the Granite Room or over in Schrott. They also have a voice in their head. And that voice in their head is saying pretty much the same thing as they're dropping you off. God, keep them safe. It's kind of a troubling thing, and I'm a father of a couple daughters that have already made it through college, and some of those things that ring through our heads, I'm not sure I'm not sure I had the courage to voice, from my head through my lips to your ears, whether or not you could say that. So I'm going to take the liberty, if the parents are okay with this, to just say a few words about what that means and how important it is in this community of care that we watch out for each other. I'm going to share a little story of what's really a parent's worst nightmare. Yesterday morning, I was over in our brand new Irvington house, which is spectacular. 5 years ago, on that same spot, we had another housing unit, Schwitzer it was called, and I was doing what I was doing yesterday morning. I was greeting a lot of people and just making sure things are going okay. I took a momentary break, and I turned on Twitter, and I saw a headline about a student at IU that morning had died. Some of you might even know this family. It's from Zionsville. The student is Rachel Feige. This was 5 years ago. And let me tell you a little bit about how that had happened. Not unlike yourself, it was move-in weekend. Rachel's mom, Angie, her father, Rick, dropped her off at the university. No doubt that they did some of the same things you did, right? Got set up in the dorm room, went out to eat, probably went to Target, did some shopping. Day two, her parents left. Later that night, Rachel texted her mom and her dad saying, "Hey, love you. I'm going to go off to a party. It's off campus. Talk to you tomorrow." So she went to the party off campus. No doubt we might have had some similar things happen last night on our own campus. And at some point in the evening, Rachel fell down the stairs. Her friends saw her, I'm not sure when, maybe an hour or two later, decided to put her into bed. The next morning when they went to wake Rachel, they found out that she was dead. Difficult situation, right? What I try to do every year is I talk to Angie about that weekend and what kind of words of advice she might have, what her family might have for our students here and for our parents. Because again, this is a parent's worst nightmare. I talked to Angie a couple weeks ago, and I asked her, what could she share with you out of that story? She wrote to me, "I weep every day for Rachel, literally every day. Her friend's college experience never had the potential it could have because of her death. Imagine spending your first weekend of college at a funeral for your best friend. It could have been different if someone had called 911, something so simple. But the fallout of not calling has been devastating." So what do we do with that at Butler? Well, those are great words there, Think about that, what she just said. Whenever I talk to Angie, and we've had Angie on our campus, I can't help but wonder what it would be like for me as a president of a university to have to call somebody like Angie to say that your daughter has died. There's probably one nightmare a little worse, and it's in your parents' heads, to receive that kind of phone call. They don't want to get a phone call from me, from anyone up here, that something like that has happened. And there's a whole range of things that could happen around those types of things. Yes, that's the extreme, but we do everything we can on this campus to keep people safe. I swear we make up things every day, like what else could we do? How do we be there? How do we get more people out there? We've got 1,300 students here. We've got 4,500 students across our student population. We cannot be everywhere at those times. At 2 o'clock in the morning, these people, they work hard, but we're not going to be in those houses off the campus when those kind of things happen. But we do have an opportunity, though, don't we? This is a community that cares. What we can do is depend on you, depend on each of you to watch over each other, to get out of your comfort zone. Right now you're kind of feeling pretty free. This is the first time you're away from your parents. So it's an opportunity maybe to go get a little crazy. And hey, we're not dumb. None of us are. We know what's going to happen because you're learning your limits. And many of you are going to go beyond your limits. Somebody is going to end up, passed out in a bad situation. So what do we do? Now, it's going to be very uncomfortable for you to step up and say, hey, listen, you need help, or I'm going to get you out of here, or I'm going to call 911, because you don't want to do that. You don't want to be the loser that's kind of intervening on something like that. But imagine if somebody had done that for Rachel. Her family would not be living through 5 years of hell. So, I'm going to give you a couple of assignments here. One, in the next 24 hours, give them time, Frank, I want you to go, there's a website, rachelsfirstweek.com. Her family has used that to try to promote safe drinking, intervention, all the things that are important. So will you do that? If you'll go to that, just raise your hand, let me know you heard what I just said. Go to rachelsfirstweek.com. There's a second thing I want you to do. Could you commit? Now again, it's not going to be, is probably a traumatic situation is what happened to Rachel, but there will be something that will come up, and it will probably happen once a month. Your opportunity to intervene, to represent the best of this community that cares, is there once a month. So what I'd ask you to do in addition is that at least once a month, intervene in some way. Try to help somebody else that doesn't realize what kind of trouble they're in. We all get in trouble, and thank God we have each other to watch over us, okay? So intervene, step in if you see something. Or even it turns out to be step in and get out of your comfort zone and talk to somebody that's looking like they're just not doing well. We have so much now in terms of psychological issues besides the social issues. If somebody seems depressed, they don't seem to be doing well, please do something, intervene. Could I get you to agree to that? Once a month. Raise your hand if you're willing to do that. All right. Now, I'm only one part of this equation. We've got parents there. We've got parents on the video. So if your parents didn't make it in here, look up at this stage. If you're willing to do this, I want you to stand up. I want you to give a simple wave to your folks, to your family, to let them know you heard what I said, and you're going to do everything you can to keep yourself and others safe. Could you rise up and do that? Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. This has been terrific. It's very important to me. I know that our students are out there waiting for you to go out there. I think I need to get you back up on a little bit of a high. I appreciate us kind of getting down. So I owe you that. So since this is the largest class and the most people that I've ever seen in clues, why don't we just practice a simple bulldog cheer, which I think let's go dogs. Barry, is that one of the best ones? All right. Now, I've already learned that you're not very good on number one. So number one's a practice. I'm going to count to 3. That's 1, 2, 3. When I hit 3, right there, you say, let's go dogs, all right? So let's practice. 1, 2, 3. Let's go dogs. Oh, that's a good practice. Now, we are going to blow the roof off of this place. Is that all right, Jimmy? All right. So, this is it. This is the big one. 1, 2, 3. Let's go dogs. All right. Thank you all. Have a great time.